Rose Petals and Rose Fellows, it is Candace Rose, and today's video is my first ever story time. Now, this story time is not the most pleasant story time ever. This is a story time on the time that I got shot. No, this is not clickbait. No, this is not an embellished story at all. This is an actual traumatic event that happened in my life, and I'm just so thankful and blessed that I lived to tell about it. I know everybody gets caught up with the month of October and associating the month of October of being Breast Cancer Awareness Month and also Halloween, but October is also Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and I am a survivor of domestic violence. And when I got shot, I was shot by the hands of my abuser, who was also the guy that I dated at that time. I always wanted to tell this story, but I felt like people would perceive me as being extra or dramatic or trying to seek some type of attention, and I just didn't want to be perceived that way. But I felt like October is like the perfect time for me to tell my domestic violence story. So, of course, just like any other story time, I'm not going to be giving out real names, and I'm going to try to keep this story time sweet, short, and to the point. It's a lot of stuff that transpired to the actual shooting, and I just hope that you guys can follow me. So this happened in my early 20s. So I was kind of like fresh, it was like my late teens, early 20s. So I was kind of like fresh out of high school. I was out of high school for a couple of years. And when I met this person through a friend of mine by the name of Calvin. Now, me and Calvin, we were like this. Like, he was my best friend, I was his best friend, and we were super, super close. We were super cool, and he would tell me everything, I would tell him everything. We were just tight. Like, I would be at his house, he would be at my house. Like, we were just super cool. So Calvin had a friend named David. And he was like, well, I'm about to fix you up with my friend David or whatever. So I'm like, all right, whatever. So at this time, I was just so young and dumb that I was into bad boys. And David was a bad boy to the extent of bad boy. When me and David met, like, I knew who he was because we went to Career Center together, and like, I was going to Career Center for healthcare. I don't know what he was going to Career Center for, but he was always quiet, but he smiled a lot. Like, he had a really nice smile. I can't say that. He had like a really, really nice smile. He was a man of little words, and he just always smiled. So eventually we ended up talking, and I can't necessarily say that he was like the perfect gentleman, because like I said, he was a bad boy. So I was just so intrigued by the bad boy that I wasn't picking up the deal breakers, if that makes any sense. So he wasn't like gentleman, like opening up doors for me and just very chivalrous or anything like that. He wasn't chivalrous at all. Like, I don't even know what I was really attracted to but the bad boy image. So we were talking, we ended up eventually getting into a relationship. And this relationship was not like this blossoming, flourishing relationship. It was toxic out the gate. And he never put his hands on me in the beginning, but he was just always cheating. Like, he was always on trash doing something so stupid. The first time that he ever put his hands on me, I had caught him up cheating again, and it was just this argument to where it was like a screaming match. And I said something to him that he did not like, and dude just straight backhanded me. That was the first time I ever got hit by a boyfriend. I've been in relationships before. I've had boyfriends before. They've never put their hands on me. So when he backhanded me, he kind of like busted my lip a little bit. So I ended up going to tell Calvin, and I told him, like, David put his hands on me. Like, my lip is clearly busted. Like, it wasn't split down the middle, but it was swollen. Like, I had like a fat lip. And he was like, what? Now, Calvin did not take well to women beaters whatsoever. He wasn't no woman beater. He always respected women, and that just was not his thing. So I don't know what he said to David or what he did to David, but he said something or did something to him, and David came back to me, and when we had a conversation, he was like, why would you tell Calvin that I put my hands on you? Dude was tripping. He was on my ass about it, and why would you tell him that? I'm like, because, like, you put your fucking hands on me. So, like, what? So we got back together, and it just, like, the cheating never stopped. Like, it never, ever stopped. But he did not put his hands on me anymore. Like I said, I don't know what Calvin said, what he did, but he never put his hands on me ever again after that. So fast forward to like a year or like a year and a half later, Calvin ended up going to jail, and Calvin did like some time, like he was gone. Now the whole time when Calvin was out after the first incident that David backhanded me, he never put his hands on me ever again. Like, he never put his hands on me because I felt like in my mind, Calvin was protecting me. And once Calvin went to jail, it was like, David was like, Candace does not have her protector anymore. She don't got her bodyguard no more. So I could do what the hell I please. So after Calvin went to jail, our relationship took a turn for the worse, and that's when he started abusing me. And it was like a slap, it was choking me, pushing me, you know, pulling my hair, things of that nature. And this was something that I just was not used to. I was not used to a man that I was dating putting their fucking hands on me. So Calvin was gone, and I know that David was hauling off and doing all this stuff and being physically abusive to me because Calvin was not here to protect me anymore. If I didn't move fast enough for him, if I didn't do what he said, he was hauling off and smacking me around. And my friends hated his guts, my family hated his guts, to the point where I kept him hidden. Like, I would sneak to go see him, I would sneak to be around him, and I was lying to my friends and family and telling them, you know, like, I'm going to a friend's house or something like that. I was telling them all types of lies so I can get away from them and I can go see him. So one time he accused me of cheating, which was completely like so not true, because I was afraid of him so much that I was too afraid to cheat on him. So he had called me down to his house, and he was like, you know, just come over to the house, and I just want to talk to you. We're gonna figure this out. We're gonna talk about it like two adults. So I'm like, finally, like, he is finally coming to his senses, and he is, you know, starting to grow up and mature. So I went to his house, and I rolled down the window, and I had my doors locked. And he was like, you know, just let me in the car. Like, let me in the car. I just want to talk to you. Something kept telling me, don't let this man in this car. Don't let him in this car. Do not let him in this car. So I let him in the car. The way that he got in the car so aggressively, I already knew, like, it's about to be some BS. Now I'm thinking that he just gonna probably just smack me, pull my hair, whatever. All I remember him saying is, so you're gonna. That's it. So you're gonna. And he pulled my hair, and he punched me so fucking hard in the face that I don't remember if he hit me once or if he hit me twice. I had put my head down, and I started to fade to black. But before I passed out, I just saw blood just gushing from my face, and then I passed completely out. I've never been punched, ever. I've never been punched in my face, ever, by no man, by no girl, by anybody, by no child. I've never, ever been punched in the face. That was the first time the first and the last time that I got snuffed in the face like that. And when I was coming to, when I was waking up, I felt his cousin pulling me out of the car to get him away from me. And me and his cousin, we're still cool to this day. Like we're very amicable. So like when I see her, like it's always love. Like I give her a hug. Like we chop it up a little bit, and then we keep it pushing. We have exchanged numbers since then, but like we don't really talk that much. So when she was pulling me out of the car, I was coming to, and it was just blood all over me, blood in the center console, and I was in her house. And when I looked in the mirror, my lip was, first of all, my eye was swelled shut. My lip was so fat that it was almost touching the tip of my nose, and I was like a bloody freaking mess. I was completely done. I broke things off with him. I told him, like, I let him know, like, we're over, we're done. This is the last time that you ever gonna put your hands on me, and this is the first time that you ever gonna punch me, and you ain't gonna, like, you're not gonna have the opportunity to do that again. So I let this man manipulate me into being back in a relationship with me. He finessed the hell out of me. He smooth talked me, and he basically manipulated me into being back in a relationship with him, and I went back. When we first got back together, things was okay. It wasn't like the best, but things were okay. He definitely was not putting his hands on me, I can tell you that. But he was still cheating, and every time I would catch him cheating, then eventually we ended up in physical altercations. Now this time I wasn't just laying there and letting him just whoop my ass. Like we were boxing it out. Like we were duking it out. He was like getting other girls pregnant on me, and like, you're in a relationship with me, but you are not only putting your hands on me, but you cheating on me at the same time. I mean, and somebody cheating on you repeatedly and constantly, that is also a form of abuse. So David ended up going to jail himself. And when he went to jail, I felt like that was my time to break things off and be done with it. So I broke things off with him. I wasn't coming to see him. I wasn't accepting any of his calls. I was over it. I was done. I just cut him off cold turkey. So months later, I was dating somebody else, and this relationship was super short-lived. I think he was like the rebound guy. Well, he was the rebound guy, but we moved kind of fast. So we got an apartment together, and we weren't even in the apartment that long. We weren't even in the apartment for 6 doggone months, and we got into a big argument. It wasn't like physical or anything like that, but we got into a big fight, and we broke up, and I moved out, and I moved in with my mother. So at this point, I want to say maybe a couple months later, David ended up getting out of jail. And we ended up talking. Like, I don't know why I kept going back to this dude. Like, it was so not worth it. So we were talking, and I don't know in my mind if we were rekindling something or we were just trying to be friends or something like that. Like, I think we were trying to I think I was trying to rekindle something with him. I was just so uncomfortable. I was so comfortable being unhappy, as my sister would say, that I was just used to the BS, and I was used to the drama, and so at some point I felt like that I can eventually change him. They don't change, okay? So me and David ended up getting into a huge fight, and I was done. So I went out with my friends, and I met this guy at the bar. So me and this guy, we were chopping it up. We were, getting to know each other. We exchanged numbers, and we ended up talking all night. All night, we were just talking all night. So he was like, I want to see you, I want to see you tomorrow. Now, this was on a Saturday, and on Sunday, he came to see me. I had went to church. I came home from church, and I was going to go over to my former friend's house to meet up with my other friends, because she was having like this little Christmas get together. But before I went over her house, the guy that I had met, he had came over my house, and we were, in the car laughing, joking, vibing, all of that. So it was dark at this point. Like, it was like 6 o'clock, and like around that time it gets dark early. So I'm in the car with this guy, and I see somebody in all black walk from my across the street neighbor's house across the street and into the bushes where my house was at, because next to my mother's house it was a whole bunch of bushes. So I ain't think nothing of it. I'm thinking that it's the cross the street neighbors, like sons that, you know, that they take that path to get to the main road. I ain't think nothing of it. So I get out of the car with this guy, and, you know, we give each other a hug, and he was like, well, I do want to see you later. And I'm like, okay, I'll just call you, or, you know, you call me or whatever. So he's pulling off, and as I'm walking to the door to go grab my purse to get into my car so I can go to my friend's house, that person who was walking across the street calls my name. So I'm like, who would know me that would be walking across the street? Like, who would know me? So I went to the house. I went inside the house because something told me to go to the bushes at first. And then God was like, nah, don't go over there. Do not go over there, because it was just way too sketchy. It was way too sketchy. Somebody calling my name, like, who would be calling my name in some doggone bushes? So I went inside the house. I told my mother's husband to walk me to my car because somebody called my name. Like, they was walking across the street and they, you know, they were in the bushes and they called my name. So he was like, okay. So I grabbed my things. I go to my car, and I didn't even, like, get halfway up the street. I was pulling off, and my mother's husband was standing in the front yard. And as I was pulling off, the guy who was dressed in all black that was hiding out in the bushes came from the bushes and just started spraying my car with bullets. And my mother's husband ended up throwing his aim off because he yelled at him, and he kind of started to chase him. So the shooter couldn't focus, like, his shots. So he sprayed the whole body of my car, and he ended up shooting out my back tire. Now, when he shot out, like, anytime, like, you get a flat tire, your car instantly slows down. God had to been pushing this car because I had an old car. My car was like a 91 Grand Am or a 1990 Grand Am, and that car took off. So as he's shooting, he ended up shooting me in my right leg, and I just felt like this burning sensation in my leg. Like, I felt a pop, and then I felt a burn, and I'm like, oh my God, I just got shot. Like, I was screaming to the top of my lungs. Now, the shooter ended up going, the hospital was probably 3 to 4 blocks away from where I lived, but the shooter ran in that direction. So, and that was the quickest way to get to the hospital. So when I pulled off, like, I kind of saw where he ran to, and I went the opposite direction. So my mom called me in a panic, screaming, like, what just happened? Like, what the heck just happened? I'm like, Mom, I just got shot. Like, I'm screaming, I'm crying, I'm confused. I don't know what happened. I didn't know if somebody was up at the top of the street waiting to finish the job. So I was a nervous wreck. So my mom was like, do not take the short way to go to the hospital. Go the long way to the hospital. I will meet you there. I get to the hospital, I get to the emergency, and I'm just beeping the horn. Like, I parked the car, I ended up honking the horn, and I'm screaming to the top of my lungs, like, help me, help me. And, like, the paramedics came, the nurses came, and they were like, what happened? I'm like, I just got shot. Like, I just got shot in my leg, and my, like, pants was, like, covered in blood. So they got me out of the car. They towed my car or something, like, and my car ended up getting towed, and they put me back into one of the emergency rooms. And, like, maybe, I wanted to say 2 minutes later, my mother, my sister, and my mother's husband was there. So I got questioned by the police. I couldn't really tell them anything. I could only tell them what led up to the incident, and that was it. I couldn't tell them who did this to me. Maybe, I want to say, like, 16 hours later, I was released from the hospital, and I called David, and I was like, somebody fucking shot me. Like, somebody shot me. And he was like, what? Who was shoot? Like, who shot you? Who was you talking to? Who was you messing with? Like, he wasn't even concerned about my safety. He wanted to know who I was talking to and who I was messing with. Like, he didn't even care. Like, he just, like, who was you messing with? Like, this ain't the time for that. So then he finally was like, well, I'm gonna find out who did this to you. Like, they're dead, man. Like, I'm gonna find out who did this to you. So I'm just like, okay, well, whatever. So we were still talking, like, after that, like, after a little bit after that. Not too much, but, like, on occasions we would talk. We got into another argument and I was just done. Like, I'm like, I can't keep doing this with you. I'm done with you. Like, I am completely fucking done with you and your shit. Like, I just got shot. I don't know who did it. I don't know why this happened, but I don't have the energy for this no more. I'm tired. I am so tired. I'm tired of your physical abuse. I'm tired of your emotional abuse. I'm tired of your verbal abuse. I am done with you. And when I say I was done, I was done. That was the last time that I talked to him, ever. So the aftermath of me getting shot, I was super paranoid and I was super traumatized. I didn't get sleep for months because I didn't know who did this to me. So I felt like, you know, this person knew where I lived. And this person is going to come back and finish the job. And this time, they not going to be hiding in no bushes. Like, they going to come into this house and they going to kill me and my entire family. I didn't know what was the motive behind it. So it was a lot of sleepless nights. I had to walk with a cane. I couldn't really walk that much. I couldn't bear any weight on my right leg. I couldn't even put my right leg all the way down to the ground, like flat-footed, because my tendons were so tight that I had to walk on my tippy toes. So I couldn't, it was just a mess. I had to sleep with my leg propped up all the time, and it was just a mess. I was afraid of the dark. I cut everybody off. I cut off all my friends. I wasn't talking to anybody. Only people that I talked to were the people that lived in my house and my aunt. Like, she was very, like, both of my aunts. My aunt was over my house all the time, and her boyfriend at the time, he was over there a lot too. So those were the people that I talked to. I stayed in the house. I did not leave the house unless I was going somewhere, and I really wasn't going anywhere with my leg all messed up and me just being scared shitless. So I didn't really go anywhere. I never went outside. So I ended up befriending my mother's friend's daughter, and we all went to the same church together, and she kind of like basically moved in the house. Like, she moved in with us, and she helped me get my mind off of the situation. Yes, I thought about it every single day. Yes, I was scared out of my mind. Like, I was paranoid. I was scared. I was tired. It was just a lot. And she helped me cope, and she helped me, like, get my mind off of it. She always was laughing, joking, clowning, cracking on somebody or something. And, like, we just had a good time. Like, the party was always in my room, or it was always in her room. You know what I mean? Like, we just had an amazing time, and I don't even think that she realizes how much she helped me out of that situation mentally. And I remember a time where she asked me to go for a walk, and I was so afraid to go outside. But she was just like, you know, we just gonna go for a short walk. We just gonna go up the street, and then we're gonna come back to the house. And before I knew it, like, we were back inside the house, but the whole time we was laughing, joking, and all of that. And it completely took my mind off of being outside. So I thank her so much for just being there. And although my A1 day ones were trying to be there for me, I was just so afraid of who did it, and I just cut them off. So it wasn't like my A1 day ones like completely like didn't want to have anything to do with me. They tried, and I just was not receiving them at that time. Calvin was in jail. Like I said, Calvin was doing time. I ended up getting Calvin's information, and I wrote him a letter, and I slid in the fact that I got shot. So when he wrote me, well, no, he called me, because I gave him my phone number. So he called me, and he was like, what? You got shot? Like, I'm going to find out who did this to you. Like, say no more. I'm gonna find out. Like, we were just catching up, and he was just like, nah, I ain't gonna let this one ride at all. Now, I was a full-time student at Kent State, and the shooting happened like right before Christmas break. So by the time I went back to school, like, I was fully walking again. I was getting back into my own. I was, you know, even though I was still scared, I was really, really scared. School and we gonna call her Tanya. Tanya was helping me get my mind off of the whole situation. I was just like getting back into the swing of things. And in the meantime, me and Calvin were still talking on the phone. We were communicating, and we were kind of like blossoming into like this thing, like into a relationship, you might as well say, into this like these romantic feelings. So after the semester was over, like that school year was over at Kent State, I had made the conscious decision to move out of Youngstown, because I'm like, I'm not about to drive myself crazy, and I'm not about to keep myself sheltered and live in fear. So I'm going to move. So that's when I moved to Columbus. So I ended up moving here, and you know, at this point, me and Calvin were like in this relationship. So he called me one day. He was like, I found out who shot you. So I'm like, well, who? And he was like, David was the one who shot you. And my jaw hit the fucking floor. And the reason why he shot me, it's because he felt disrespected, and because I moved on and I didn't want to have anything else to do with him. That is like the dumbest reason to do something like that to somebody that you claim that you loved so much, that I was so offended and my mind was fucking blown. At this point, I did not talk to David at all. David was completely fucking dead to me. And I was over it. I was done with it. And the fact that he did something like this all because I just wanted to simply just move on, it was crazy. And he felt so comfortable to try to kill me, attempt to kill me. And it all stemmed from him putting his hands on me. Charges was never brought up on him, just because it was all street talk and they didn't have solid proof. So he was just roaming around the streets, knowing that he tried to kill me, knowing that he shot me, and he shot me up. But what was even much a slap in the face was the fact that I told him that I got shot, and he pretended like he had no idea what was going on. And he put on this whole song and dance and this pretend act like, who shot you? I'm gonna find out who did it. They're dead, and this, that, and the third. But it was you the whole entire time. So Calvin informed me, you don't ever have to worry about David again. Like, he already knows that me and you are together. He will not overstep his boundaries with me. He do not want to, you know, cross paths with me. So you don't ever have to worry about David ever putting you in harm's way. You ain't got to worry about your family being in harm's way. He will not have the opportunity to be next to you, let alone put his hands on you or try to hurt you in any way. And he was right, because I never seen him again. David ended up going back to jail for like 6 or 7 years for a non-related crime that had nothing to do with me. And you know, I'm living here, and I rarely went home. I rarely went home to visit or anything. So I never ever saw David ever again. I just felt like I did not have to subject myself to that type of abuse anymore, and I didn't. I could have died. And good thing, according to, you know, the doctors, that, I can't say doctor, let me take the quotation marks off of that. According to the doctors, I had a flesh wound, because it could have been a whole lot worse. I could have lost my leg. You know, the bullet was only 3 inches below my kneecap. If he would have shot my kneecap or shattered my kneecap, I wouldn't have had a leg. He could have hit one of my main arteries, and you know, we have a main artery that's in our groin area. He could have hit that. I could have bled out. It could have been so many situations that happened in that situation that I would not have lived to tell about it. And I just thank God that I'm able to tell about it. I learned a lot from that situation. I just had to realize that I had to value myself a little bit more than I was valuing myself. Bad boys are just that. They are bad boys. And I'm not necessarily saying that all bad boys are physically abusive, but that one definitely was. An abuser comes from all walks of life, not just from the streets. As much as I tried to change him and as much as I tried to, form him into the man that I wanted him to be, it wasn't no changing him. It wasn't no saving him. And I say that to say this: it only gets worse. The longer that you stay, the worse that it gets. Me and my A1 day ones are just that. They are still my A1 day ones. We ended up reconnecting again, and we are the best of friends to this day. Now, the girl's house that I was supposed to be going over, me and her are not friends anymore. She is dead to me just like he is dead to me. And she knew that he shot me. She knew that he was putting his hands on me, and they ended up messing around. But none of my friends are friends with her. I ain't friends with her no more. I got my friends back, and I thank Calvin so much for helping me mentally get out of that situation. I thank my, my close family, like my aunt and my little cousin and my sister and my mom, for just helping me. And the fact that I did not see him anymore, I did not hear from him anymore, that helped me get over him faster. I'm not over the situation. Well, I'm over the situation to a certain extent. I don't let that situation consume my life anymore, but I do think about it. Do I think about it every single day? No, I do not. Only regret that I do have in this situation is that I wish that I left and I stuck to my guns and I didn't keep going back. Allowed this person to manipulate me and brainwash me and get into my head and making me think that he's gonna change, he's gonna stop, and he didn't. The experience, it just made me a stronger person. Now, it's just one thing that I was able just to live to tell about it. So I hope you guys learned from this story time. And I promise you guys, if I do another story time, it's not going to be this dark. And it ain't going to be this deep. But I hope you guys definitely got something out of this story time. I'm surprised that I didn't cry. I think I'm just over it. That is it for this story time on the time that I got shot. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video. And I will see you guys in my next video.